only a tiny bit left of this, the 26th chapter of David Copperfield. David has gone to stay with Spenlow's and has met Mr. Spenlow's daughter, who unfortunately has been given Miss Murdstone as a confidential friend. As we return to the story, David, Dora, and Dora's little dog Jip are all on a walk together. Jip made a comfortable noise in answer, a little like a tea kettle when it sings. As for me, every word was a new heap of fetters riveted above the last. We had a quiet day, no company, a walk, a family dinner of 4, and an evening of looking over books and pictures. Miss Murdstone, with a homily before her and eyes upon us, keeping guard vigilantly. Ah, little did Mr. Spenlow imagine when he sat opposite to me after dinner that day, with his pocket handkerchief over his head, how fervently I was embracing him in my fancy as his son-in-law. Within the first week of my passion, I bought 4 sumptuous waistcoats, not for myself, I had no pride in them, for Dora, and took to wearing straw-colored kid gloves in the streets, and laid the foundations of all the corns I have ever had. If the boots I wore at that period could have only produced and compared with the natural size of my feet, they would show what the state of my heart was. And yet, wretched cripple as I made myself in this act of homage to Dora, I walked miles upon miles daily in the hope of seeing her. Not only was I soon as well known on the Norwood Road as the postman on the beat, but I pervaded London likewise. I walked about the streets where the best shops for ladies were. I haunted the bazaar like an unquiet spirit. I fagged through the park again and again, long after I was quite knocked up. Sometimes, at long intervals, on rare occasions I saw her. Perhaps I saw her glove waved in a carriage window. Perhaps I met her, walked with her and Miss Murdstone a little way, and spoke to her. In the latter case, I was always very miserable afterwards to think that I had said nothing to the purpose, or that she had no idea of the extent of my devotion, or that she cared nothing about me. I was always looking out, as may be supposed, for another invitation to Mr. Spenlow's house. I was always being disappointed, for I got none. Mrs. Krupp must have been a woman of penetration, for when this attachment was but a few weeks old, she found it out. She came up to me one evening when I was very low to ask, she being then afflicted with the disorder I have mentioned, if I could oblige her with a little tincture of cardamoms, mixed with rhubarb and flavored with 7 drops of the essence of cloves, which was the best remedy for her complaint, or if I had not such a thing by me with a little brandy, which was the next best. I gave Mrs. Krupp a glass of the second, which, that I might have no suspicion of its being devoted to any improper use, she began to take in my presence. "Cheer up, sir," said Mrs. Krupp. "I can't bear to see you so, sir. If she don't smile upon you, why there's a many as will. You're a young gentleman to be smiled on, Mr. Copperfield, and you must learn your value, sir." "What makes you suppose there isn't a young lady in the case, Mrs. Krupp?" said I. "Mr. Copperfield," said Mrs. Krupp, with a great deal of feeling, "I'm a mother myself. I ask your pardon, sir, if I intrude, but my advice to you is to cheer up, sir, keep a good heart, and to know your own value." With these words, Mrs. Krupp, affecting to be very careful of the brandy, which was all gone, thanked me with a majestic curtsy, and retired. And that is the end of chapter 26.